What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is Jake from Citizen JB, and I want to talk about my first 8-hour impressions of Cronos: The New Dawn. And this has been in the works for quite some time because, this game previously came out on the 5th of this month of September 2025. And I will say, I love this game. But to a certain degree, I like it, but then I don't in a way as well because this game is hard, okay? While it does play like a little bit of a Silent Hill 2 remake, with the over-the-shoulder camera, much like the Dead Space remake as well, or the RE2 remake or RE3 remake, but point taken, okay? Either or. I think this game is very phenomenal in its own atmospheric and conceptual type of artistic way, which I really love about these types of games when it comes to horror aesthetic games or thematic themes in a game like Cronos: The New Dawn as well. Now, comparing it, or directly comparing it to, like the Silent Hill 2 remake or the Dead Space remake in its own unique visual way, they do have some of their differences and similarities. Now, I want to talk about the difficulty spike in this game. The difficulty spike in this game is, like I said, it's not like extremely difficult, like Dark Souls difficult, but it is difficult to a certain degree to where you really have to be careful with your resource management, with your ammo management, with the guns that you are able to get in the game as well. And that's one thing I actually really greatly appreciate when it comes to games like this, because you have to be careful in so many ways in this game. But directly comparing it to the Dead Space remake or even Silent Hill 2 remake, you can get so much ammunition in the game, whether if you play those games on like the earliest difficulties or maybe the medium or the hard difficulties. But even then, you're still getting a surmountable of ammunition and vice versa. Now, there is another thing that I really like about this game as well, is the crafting system. And you are able to craft like med kits, your ammunition, and certain types of flammable type of liquid that you can do against the enemies as well. And I really love that system. It's a really good system that has pretty much, I would say, very implemented, much like I would say in a way like Dead Space remake, and because, like I said, there are so many different similarities in each of these games. But another thing, I want to talk about the difficulty system that this game really provides. Okay? It's a little bit of a beef, really, or a critique at the same time as well. If you're going to make a game, I understand why they put into one only specific difficulty in a game like this. Dark Souls has it, Demon Souls has it, Elden Ring has it, or Bloodborne has it as well. Yes, we talked about Bloodborne, my apologies. Who cares, by the way? But either or, this game has that type of difficulty from those games as well. And I'm going to say here, as it goes without saying as well, I think having a difficulty that is totally locked in is unnecessary. Because now, here's what I think about the unnecessary part of this, is that I understand why they did it, because they want to have, like, I would say, veteran gamers, like myself, that have played Dead Space, Silent Hill 2, or the Resident Evil 2 remakes of 1 and 2 as well, and 3. And so I'm just saying, like I said, I understand why they did it. But here's the thing. I feel like it's a little bit of an alienation at the same time, not just for the veterans out there that have played these types of games, but it has to do with, if you really want to implement difficulty modes in a game like Cronos: The New Dawn, which I think that they should have done. So that way we can have not just veteran gamers such as myself, but have newcomers that haven't played the Dead Space remake or haven't played the original Dead Space games or the Resident Evil 2 remakes or the Resident Evil 3 remake, or the Silent Hill 2 remake, I think that it would have been a so much better experience by having difficulty modes. Like I said, I understand why they did it though. I do. So, that's the only gripe or the beef or the critique that I have. But overall, this game has like a very risk and reward system in play. This is where the game really implements a lot of, like I said, the risk and reward, right? There's a lot of risk involved. Like I said, you have to survive in this game to the utmost of what you can do. And then once you get through a certain part of the area that you have succeeded to go through because you had enough ammunition, going up against different types of enemies in this game as well, there is going to be that succeed. There is going to be that reward in play. That's where this game really does a remarkable job with that. Now, another thing that I'm greatly impressed with as well is the enemy AI and the enemy artistic designs as well. This game really brings back or harkens back to the AI systems and the character systems or the enemy systems in play from that, I would say, from, like the Dead Space remake or the Silent Hill 2 remake overall. I mean, because I think when it comes to having the original IP, like the original Dead Space series, and then having the remakes of Resident Evil 1 and 2, they all have their unique visual appeal when it comes to the enemies, right? And that's one thing that this game does magnificently well. I love that. Okay? But the enemies in Cronos the New Dawn really provide, like I said before, require a more tactical approach. Because there are enemies in this game, like the Dead Space remake specifically, not much of Silent Hill 2 remake, obviously, I think, is that there are enemies that will be, puffing out venomous or poisonous clouds, as you see here. And that's one thing I do like. But like I said, that's where the tactical comes into play when it comes to this game as well. Now, going with the visual artistic design of the enemies or the monsters in this game, they are magnificently grotesque. They're dark and foreboding and brooding and all that kind of stuff. But that's where this game really shows off its psychological effect and its visual design. And it's fantastic. Okay? Now, overall, I would say, with the experience that I've had with this game, I would say I would rank this game right now at 8.5. Now, for what I understand, I looked up on this, is that there is a new game plus. Okay? And when you finish this game, not defeat, well, same thing in a way, but when you finish this game, there is a new game plus, and you can be able to play this game in any kind of difficulty modifier, to my understanding, for what I've researched, which is cool. And that is one of the things why I really want to venture more forward along with this game, getting to know the whole entire game of its combat systems and knowing the tactile aesthetic of the combat that you're able to do with a pistol or a shotgun in this game as well. Now, this game has another thing that I've really thought about that this has a lot going for it as well, is the puzzle solving. The puzzle solving in this game is very unique. I have never seen something like this before, to where there are specific types of orbs in a specific type of area or spot, and you have to gather some sort of a mechanical device to where you are able to manipulate a certain part of an area to where you can use it as an elevator and raise your character up to go to a new area, which is really cool. And not only that, you are able to use it to do some temporal distortions as well. That's amazing. That's another thing I was greatly impressed with. It was just what it's able to do and what it provides for you as a character, and how you can think outside the box, because in a way this game is a little bit of a thinkers player game, right? And so I think that's another thing that this game really does magnificently well. So I would say my final impressions right now so far, it's really, really good. I'm loving the story. I'm loving the world. I'm loving the combat. But again, like I said, the only quirk or the only qualm or whatever it may be is the difficulty system. I think that they could have done so much better with the difficulty system to bring in new players rather than just like bringing in the veteran gamers that have played the Dead Space games or like the Dark Souls games or the Resident Evil 2 remake or Resident Evil 3 remake or Resident Evil 4 remake or the Silent Hill 2 remake. You get where I'm going with this. So that's what I'm saying about this. So I know, here's one thing I will say. I know the majority of the people that watch videos on YouTube don't always watch a video all the way through. I get that. And here's the thing. I've done that too. But what I'm saying is that I really strongly believe that if you really want to get more of a context of what someone is talking about a game, not only because they love the game, but you should really listen to what they think about it as well, rather than like always listening to professional reviewers and vice versa, because that is one thing for sure about me, is that I don't listen to professional reviewers most of the time anymore like I used to, because I want to play games on my own cognizance of what I want to think about the game as well. That's what's important to me too. So, anyways, too much further ado, thank you for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. You guys have a good rest of your week. Have a good upcoming weekend. And have fun playing Borderlands 4 as well, because that comes out tomorrow as well. So, anyways, this is Jake from Citizen JV. You guys have a good rest of your week.